What's up, guys? Jake here. Things will be done a little differently, as you can see. There have been a few changes. We've got a brand new look, and most importantly, I'm a horse with a voice. I could be anything. A talking steak, a broccoli,
I'm watching you.
or a gorilla. It's almost human, isn't it? Well, at least this is what some ridiculous vegan science denier will try to sell us today. But before we get into that, please welcome the co-host of the show, Mandy, who will help me unfold the madness in the meatless media.
Hello. Are you here for science? Or you want comedy?
Why not both? Some would say it's anti-vegan propaganda, but it's really just the representation of facts. Anyway, since you're an ex-vegan, I'm wondering if you have a beef with your former comrades. Are you ready to spill the beans?
That was a terrible punchline, Jake.
Thanks.
But yes, I was on the whole food plant-based diet for about 2.5 years, and honestly, the best decision of my life was when I stopped. Since then, I am pretty vocal about what I experienced.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but first let's watch a short clip from a vegan creator who has more than 100,000 followers on Instagram and is trying to get a foothold on YouTube too, apparently with a lot less success. So, let's see what he's got to say.
I have a question for you vegans. What? Are you going to tell a lion not to eat meat? Of course not. Are you going to tell a gorilla not to be vegan? I don't know. Why gorilla? Well, they do share 98% of our DNA. Why lions? You want to be a lion. You're not.
Wow, that was dumb.
Instant brain damage.
Who would compare humans to a wild animal who we shared a common ancestor with about 10 million years ago?
A vegan who loves cherry picking.
It's easy to debunk. By the same logic, we shouldn't go vegan because our genetically closest living relatives, chimpanzees, do eat meat.
Yeah.
So case closed.
If you want to see chimps hunting, I recommend watching Chimp Empire on Netflix.
Or we could just be ourselves, humans.
Yeah, why gorilla? Is he trying to suggest that humans are actually herbivores? That's pure pseudoscience.
Maybe he identifies as a gorilla, you know. Nowadays you can be anything.
Half transgender gorilla, half helicopter.
Wicked.
Oh, here's a fun fact. Gorillas have the tiniest male parts among all great apes in relation to body size.
Maybe our guy did find some similarity between gorillas and himself, after all.
Who knows? Apparently logic is not his strongest point, nor biology.
By the way, aren't gorillas built more like a horse?
Well, actually...
Not that part. I mean their digestive tracts. Isn't it very different from ours?
Great question. Let's ask our in-house expert, Dr. Know-It-All.
Horses and gorillas are both well adapted to eating raw vegetation. Unlike in humans, a big portion of their large intestine, the cecum and colon, is dedicated to store and ferment raw plant fiber, where microbes turn cellulose into nutrients.
But what about that 98% of DNA?
Gorillas and humans are primates, part of the same taxonomic order, while lions belong to the order of carnivora, together with bears and wolves, so obviously genetically we are closer to other apes and monkeys.
Of course.
But it's much more complex than simple percentages. Take bears, for example. Polar bears are mostly carnivorous. The diet of brown bears includes meat, fish, but also a lot of roots, berries, and even grass, which makes them omnivores. And panda bears are herbivores, as 99% of what they eat is bamboo, and all are in the same taxonomic family.
Okay, I get that. So how do we compare to gorillas? And can we cut the cheesy background music, please?
Here in this chart, we can see the relative gut proportions of gorillas and modern humans.
Okay.
Gorillas have an enlarged cecum and colon, which is a typical characteristic of hindgut fermenting herbivores.
What about us?
In humans, this ratio is reversed as the majority of the nutrient absorption happens in our long, small intestine through autoenzymatic digestion, similarly to carnivores and many omnivores.
That's quite compelling evidence. But could we eat what gorillas eat?
A typical meal for gorillas consists of leaves, stems, twigs, tree bark, some fruit and invertebrates such as snails, caterpillars, ants and termites, which can make up 3% of their diet.
Has your herbivorous instinct kicked in yet, Mandy? Fancy some twigs?
No thank you. That's definitely not on my menu.
Or on anybody's, except Menkay's, of course.
And this way of eating can be challenging even for gorillas, as the food they eat has relatively low nutritional quality, so they must consume a large quantity of vegetation to survive. Up to 10% of their body weight per day.
For a human, that's the equivalent to eating about 20 broccolis every day.
That's embarrassing.
Where are the raw vegan competitive eaters?
On the toilet.
If you believe that we are 98% identical to gorillas, then probably. And on top of that, this joker completely ignored that our ancestors chose a very different dietary approach.
That's correct.
At least I've never seen a cave painting of prehistoric humans digging for turnips or picking broccolis.
No, meat was an essential part of our evolution. That's an irrefutable fact.
Thank you, Doctor. So I have a question for you, vegans. You want to be a gorilla? You're not.
Poor guy. But he was asking for it. What goes around comes around.
I'm just holding a mirror up to the loonies. Anyway, Mandy, when you were a vegan, did you also believe that humans are herbivores?
No, I was aware of the fact that humans are descendants of thousands of generations of meat-eating hunter-gatherers. At least I had never heard about great vegan tribes who thrived on a completely plant-based diet. It's nonsense.
It is.
But I remember these cringy videos popping up almost every day in my social media feed. Like this one about our canine teeth.
And the reason that we have our canines is to help us bite into hard, crunchy fruits and vegetables like apples, like apples.
A lot of famous vegan influencers were pushing it, even big documentaries. The Game Changers, for example. So it was definitely a trend in the plant-based media.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm actually convinced that it's a big scam. There's a whole series about this on this channel. It's called The Great Herbivore Swindle.
They probably think the end justifies the means.
Does it?
They know that if they could only stick to the facts, people wouldn't listen.
Imagine going vegan after watching this guy's video. Oh, look, I'm not a lion. Then no meat for me.
I'm actually sorry for those who fall for it, but what can you do? They're not the sharpest tools in the box, to say the least. All they want to hear is the good news, and the winner is the one who delivers it.
That's how social media works, unfortunately. And people will criticize this video because we also have a narrative.
We can back up everything with facts. But you're right, I'm not saying every single plant-based influencer lies all the time, though it's not uncommon.
There are always three sides to a story. Yours, theirs, and the truth. We're here to help you fit the puzzle pieces.
So, what's our guy's relationship with the truth?
Well, this vegan creator certainly knows how to take advantage of people who are too lazy or dumb to do some critical thinking. Like in the next video.
Let's make a bet. I've been vegan for 10 years, but I decided to have a big fat juicy steak if somebody finally proves to me that we are real meat eaters. You know, like these guys. So here's what you gotta do. Find a roadkill and eat it like a real meat eater. The rules are simple. No knives, no forks, no fire, no cooking, no seasoning. Oh, and you can't be picky, because real meat eaters eat everything. The eyes, the guts, the brain, the genitals, and every single inner organ down to the bone. Anyway, until someone meets this challenge, I'll be right here, waiting. Oh, an apple.
Oh, it was even dumber than the first one.
Agree.
Come on, lions again. Is the video for toddlers?
No, just stupid indoctrination for vegans.
Going by his rules, if a real meat eater is a lion, then a real plant eater should be something like a cow. You know, the two extremes. So let's go grazing, shall we?
Or just dig out some wild roots with our bare hands and start chewing them raw.
A lot of those are actually toxic if you don't cook them.
Sorry, no cooking. Real plant eaters don't do that. You can't be picky because real plant eaters eat everything. Stems, pits, skin, stalks, leaves, the dirt on the plant. They don't wash, peel, soak, sprout, cut, or mash their dinner. You can chuck out your blender too. And don't you dare season your veggies.
Yeah, exactly. By the same logic, we shouldn't use toilets because real plant eaters just shit as they go.
Or look at gorillas. They don't wear clothes, so we shouldn't either. That would be silly, right?
He doesn't realize his argument actually destroys the idea that the modern vegan diet is natural.
It is as unnatural as it can get.
It relies on artificial supplements, fertilizers, pesticides, tilling the soil, and so on.
And remember, real plant eaters don't use weapons and poisons to kill the animals that want to eat their plants.
He also forgets that all the fruit and vegetables we buy in the supermarket are man-made inventions. We don't live in the Garden of Eden.
Wait, what if our guy's a fruitarian? You know, a vegan who eats only fruit? Like crunchy apples?
Many fruitarians end up severely malnourished, so he's either lying or just ignorant. Either way, he's spreading misinformation.
Luckily, we can always check what science can tell us about this. Is using knives natural or unnatural?
Using tools can be observed naturally in the animal kingdom. Usually, the smarter the animal, the more complex the tool use is.
What animals use tools?
Birds, rodents, elephants, octopuses. Sea otters carry stones on their belly to crack the shells of clams and oysters open. Dolphins use sponges to dig up the ocean bottom for prey.
So, it's a hunting tool.
Yes, they have also been observed to trap fish with empty shells, but the most adept tool users, not surprisingly, are primates.
There you go.
Chimpanzees regularly make and use spears to stab bush babies hiding in the hollow branches of tree trunks.
Looks like there's nothing unnatural in using tools. We just made it more sophisticated.
It's natural to use our brain for what it is evolved to do.
Our guy doesn't believe in that.
Using his brain? Of course, he can always try to survive in the jungle on a gorilla diet.
No knives, no fire.
Let's make a bet.
That would be a suicide mission, I'm afraid. Our body cannot extract nutrients from raw, fibrous plants as efficiently as herbivores do. But we make up for it with tools and intelligence. With the right kind of machinery, irrigation, selective breeding, hybrids, humans were able to transform barely edible plant species into what became staples of our diet. A good example is corn. On the left, we can see the wild ancestor of maize, a grass called teosinte that looks nothing like corn. About 8,000 years ago, farmers in the land that would become Mexico started to select seeds that produced softer, starchier kernels, and gradually over thousands of years, modern corn was created.
None of this would be possible without tools.
That's right. This process is known as artificial selection.
So let me get this straight. Corn is a human invention?
Yes. Most modern fruits and vegetables didn't exist for the most part of our evolution.
I suppose our ancestors didn't eat chicken and French fries from plastic buckets either.
They relied on what nature provided, both plants and animals. Humans are one of the most successful omnivores on the planet.
Humans, rats, and cockroaches.
That's fascinating, and I'd like to hear about this more, but unfortunately, our time is up. Mandy, promise you'll tell us your story in a future episode.
Definitely.
So, what are your plans for the weekend? Are you going out with your boyfriend? Or just order pizza and watch TV as real plant eaters do?
I'll probably check out that documentary about chimps you mentioned.
They said so, it must be true. Why would they lie to you? You don't understand this contradiction. Can you really tell facts from fiction?
Like apples.